Welcome back to the Graybeard Wisdom Podcast with host Mark Freeman. Today's guest is Lauren Glass Mullins, co-founder and CEO of Personality Pool, a company flipping the hiring process by putting personality before the resume. Lauren built her platform after experiencing the frustration firsthand, being the right person for the job but unable to get past the keyword filter. Her solution, a tool that lets candidates show who they really are, not just what's listed on paper. In an industry where labor shortages meet high turnover, this conversation challenges how food service operators have always approached hiring for customer-facing roles. If you've ever struggled to find people who actually fit your culture, this one's for you. Let's get into it.
Hey, Lauren, welcome to the Graybeard Wisdom Podcast.
Thanks for having me. I feel like this has been a long time coming, so I'm excited to finally get to chat with you.
Yeah, this will be good. This will be good. So, sometimes I start this out with a kind of I don't know, maybe a funny question.
Okay.
So I spent some time at LinkedIn, and one of the things when we introduced people around a table in a new meeting was we said, tell us something that's not on your LinkedIn profile. So I'll open that up and give you a chance to kind of tell me, maybe a secret or something that, is of interest to you that maybe our audience might not know by looking at your LinkedIn profile.
Oh my gosh, now that I have never been asked this. This is a good question. I like it. All right, here's something. This is just like a little, if I could put this on my LinkedIn, I would. So anytime I do like a two truths and a lie, this is a truth. I know we're not doing that. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could like encapsulate this. And it is me breaking a law, but like it's a minor, young person law to be broken. But I was at a work conference early in my career, and we were right outside of Nashville, and one of my colleagues lived there, and he was like, you want to do something fun? Because, work conferences can be extremely boring. And mind you, we were 24. And I was like, yeah, what do you want to do? And so, long story short, in right outside in Hendersonville area is Johnny Cash's house, like
Oh,
his homestead from his youth. I think
yeah.
it actually burned down now, but and he was like, I think we should go see that, and I'm gonna make you jump the fence and run across the front yard. He said, I make all of my friends do this, and I was like, okay. And so I did it, and there was cameras everywhere, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm at this work conference, but yeah, I like to tell that story because I'm like, there's mixers at after work conferences, and then there's
Yeah.
times that you get coaxed into jumping a fence and doing a quick sprint across Johnny Cash's childhood front yard. So I wish I could put that on my LinkedIn. Maybe I'll find a way to work it
I
in.
think you should. I think that's a great one, right? That's awesome. Well, I'm guessing you didn't get thrown in jail or get on some camera somewhere or,
We
get
made it.
arrested, right? So that's good.
That was 10, 11 years ago now. And although there was cameras, it wasn't as, you weren't as surrounded
Yep.
as you are now. I likely wouldn't get away with it now. And nobody
No.
filmed it. It didn't go on TikTok or anything like that. So
Right.
I was marked safe.
That's great. That's a good one. I've asked a lot of people the questions that never come up with anything like that. So that's cool.
Yeah,
So,
I think, that's that entrepreneur tenacity maybe. So I'll try to work it into my LinkedIn profile.
well, and I want to get into the entrepreneurial kind of a thing. So Personality Pool is your product. Maybe tell us a little bit about the product, what it does, how it does it, and maybe how you got from thinking about it to actually making it happen.
Yeah, so it all kind of goes back to the fact that when I graduated from college, I couldn't get a job. Now, you've heard this very elaborate story about me, and you're like, yeah, you were probably a walking HR nightmares why you couldn't get a job. But I really am not. I'm not. But so when I graduated from college and started applying for jobs, the issue that many young grads face is that your resume looks just like everybody else's,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to have 100 years of experience even though you're only 21, and it's just this whole thing. And you put a resume in and you kind of end up in a black hole of, oh my gosh, 100 other people applied. There's nothing really about me that's standing out from the resume. So what do you do? And so I kept applying for jobs. I wanted to go into sales and I just could not get a job. And so long story short, I just kept thinking if I could meet the hiring manager and
Yeah.
just show them, like, I don't have sales experience, but let me tell you why I think I can do this, I could get this job. And so I ended up meeting this guy that I went to church with, and he was a manager for a Verizon wireless retail store. And I told them, I'm like, I've applied for this job. Like, I guess I'm technically like something I'm doing is kicking me out of the process. And so I want to talk to you and tell you, like, give me a chance. I can do this job. And he did. And I ended up winning, and this is not to be like, oh, I'm so great. It's just that on paper, I was not qualified. And then I went on to win sales awards and got a couple of promotions pretty young and all of these things that I would have never had the opportunity to do had
Uh-huh.
someone not given me a chance on my personality. And so personality pool was born out of that thought of like, personality should be leveraged in the application process more than it is. A resume will tell you what somebody did, but it doesn't tell you anything about who they are. And you try to put personal things on a resume and it just looks so out of place and it's just really hard to do that at that entry point of the hiring process. And so I always thought, how can we make personality hires a thing, not a joke? Like, so anyway, so that's where the idea actually came from. And then we kind of morphed more into, okay, now what jobs does personality mean more than a resume? And we kind of ended up landing on frontline roles. So hospitality, retail, sales, boutique wellness, that's kind of the world we live in. We say if you have high turnover and you really care more about personality than what's on a resume, personality pool is a tool that's going to help you see that faster. So that's the short version.
Well, is it, so I'm curious how, how is it a phone, it's a phone app or a web app and who's it designed for? Is it designed for the hiring person or is it really designed for the person that's going or wants to be hired?
No, that's a good question. So it's designed for the HR teams, the people ops teams. And what happens is when you use our tool, you set up 3 to 5 video questions that you want candidates to answer. And from there, when you are creating your personality pool profile, and I can get on a whole tangent on this,
Please do.
but this is the typical process when you're hiring somebody. You post your job. We'll just say you post it on Indeed or, you're marketing people to come to your careers page to apply. People have got to apply. So they apply. They submit a resume. You get tons of resumes.
Yeah.
Likely a lot of them, if not a majority of them, especially in these frontline roles, they all look exactly the same.
Yeah.
And now with Chat GPT, they really all look exactly the same.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so you got to filter through those and you're like, okay, I guess I'll call this person and do a pre-screen call. Really, you have no reason why you're choosing that person, maybe a couple of small indicators on the resume. Then you do a pre-screen call. So you've got to chase them down. So you've spent all this time screening the resumes. Finally find some solid people. All right, let me chase them down. Let me schedule a pre-screen call. Get them on the phone. What are you trying to do right there? You're really trying to feel their energy, get a vibe.
Yep.
How's this person present themselves? Then from there, you're like, all right, let's schedule an interview. Or, I know a lot of hospitality groups do big in-person interview, let's get all these people into one place. So there's all of these steps. And really what you're trying to do that whole time, see if they have the right personality to serve
Yeah.
your patrons. And so
Right.
we kind of flip that process on its head and we say, look, you need to set up these 3 video questions. And before they do anything, have them answer these. It knocks out the pre screen call. Sometimes it can supplement a first interview. And then, sure, have them submit the resume too, do a quick glance over that for the things that you need. But if if what you're trying to get at is, do they have the warmth and the culture fit for my facility? You should just be looking at that first. You shouldn't be torturing yourself with all these other steps. And so the hiring team set up a profile with us, and this is what's super cool. Now, there's personality assessments out there, and there's video interviewing software, and there's all of that stuff that would be, similar. But what we said is like, okay, we want to know that when candidates answer these videos, that we're giving these hiring teams some data on these candidates that they're not going to get from a resume. So let's say you go to apply for Marriott. I don't know. That's just what came to my mind.
Sure.
And the first thing you're going to do is complete these video questions. Well, that hiring team has already completed what we call a culture profile. So that lives in your personality pool portal. And that's where you put in all of the details like, this is who we know works here. This is the environment. These are the red flags that we look out for. This is what makes us unique. All of these things the hiring teams are putting in. So when the candidate goes to apply, they answer those questions. We take their answers and we create a scorecard. And we're like, all right, Marriott says that X, Y, and Z are things that are absolutely what they're looking for. Well, this candidate said X, Y, Z, and here's why that supports the profile of the person you're looking for. And we'll kind of take all of that data, run it up against your own, metrics that you've selected, and
Yeah.
give you this scorecard. We don't eliminate anybody. We don't rank them. So that's how we stay like AI compliant. It's just like, hey, we want to give you more information about this person's personality based on what you know works for you. And the more you do it, the stronger your algorithm gets. So the stronger that scorecard gets of like, oh, we've hired, 10 baristas. And we know that these metrics work. And so now every time you're running somebody through, you can kind of see, oh, last time we hired somebody with this scorecard, they stayed. Let's do that again. And so it's really fun, and it's a way to eliminate the cost of a personality test. There's just so many things. So our goal is, let's get you to personality faster.
Well, so then, and you explained the process of, you get a hundred or 200 or 500 resumes. Is it at that process that they produce a 3-question video that then the hiring manager or the hiring person gets the scores of, 3 times 500, applicants,
Yeah.
and then it narrows it down on maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, if I understand it correctly, or some kind of scale. So then it only gives you the top 10 or the whatever. I mean, is that how it works?
Actually, no. And so what happens is when you create your questionnaire within our platform, you have a link, and we also integrate into all the major, applicant tracking systems. So there's a few different structures. But what our clients do is they either have it embedded on their website or on their career page somewhere so that candidates are hitting that link immediately, you're getting the results. If you rely heavily on job boards, which most people do, what we say is you need to set up an automatic email. Again, there's a lot of, if somebody's interested, there's a lot of ways that you can automate this system. But
Okay.
essentially, what we're trying to get at is you get all these candidates from Indeed. Let's help you set up some kind of automation to where every time somebody applies, they get the link and they have to complete the assessment. What
Yep.
happens is you will see a pretty dramatic decrease in who will actually complete it. And so we don't say, here's the top 10. We just, whoever completes it, you get a notification and you get the results and you are able to view them. And that's where a big time savings comes in, because that we had 50 people apply, 12, 10 completed this video assessment. They're bought in, they're serious, they cared enough to take the time to complete these videos.
Uh-huh.
So here's 10 highly qualified people that are worth looking into versus looking into all 50. And so it's almost like a screen within a screen, but you have this link and you can get it to the candidates however you want. So there's a lot of flexibility with how people do it, but that's ultimately the goal.
And then does and I'll just be only because I don't know, the the AI agent that's evaluating the videos is 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 aligning that to the company culture and the questions or the answers that they filled out with the questions that the hiring people then set a category or a way of evaluating them. Does the machine do the evaluation kind of a
The
thing?
machines, so that's where AI comes in. So AI does develop the scorecard,
Okay.
and we're creating our own language model.
Okay. Well, gosh, I got a zillion questions. So what, I've been spending a lot of time with AI and understanding it and really kind of getting into it. And you mentioned it as like, there's a ton of videos on TikTok and all of these kinds of things. And the way that the AI agent models are going is that they can build um, videos in
Mm.
seconds. And so and I don't know, maybe I'm getting into some confidential information here, but can somebody, hack it in a sense and know that, Marriott has these values and, from the webpage and, however, maybe a friend that works there and
Yeah.
knows, all that kind of stuff. So now you build a video that fits that in a sense, but is your machine going to be able to decipher whether it's machine built or really the personality of that person?
Yeah, so you can't upload videos. You have to hit record and do it live. So you could not build any.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. Now you can re-record it as much as you want. And as a candidate, you don't know what you're being scored on really because
Right.
every person's culture is different. So there's no way for you to prep for that. It's all
Uh-huh.
just personality based questions. Give us honest answers. We'll go from there. But yeah, so it's in real time. So you can't upload anything.
And do you is it in multiple languages?
Yes. So it is. And we, right now, it's just English, Spanish, really, is where we focus because that's just been our two top
Okay.
needs. But yeah, so, and we don't do any facial recognition on those videos. So essentially, we're focusing on what you say and how you say it. So
Yeah.
it's all voice inflection and tone. And there's a lot of scientific things that back that up. But what is so great about what we're building, because AI is incredibly overwhelming in the HR space. I have been in AI in the HR space before this big boom happened. So this I'm 2 years in. 2 years ago, just trying to get people comfortable with using video in their hiring process was like the hardest thing in the world. And now that's becoming way more common. Well, then we were like, okay, we do have some AI in here. And it's almost like we couldn't lead with that because then people automatically are like, oh, this is going to kick people out. This is going to create bias. This is going to do all this
Yeah.
stuff. And we make it a point to say, look, we don't do any facial recognition. That's a huge thing that creates bias because it will reject people based on gender, ethnicity. There's all kinds of different facial structures that can cause a lot of problems. We don't do that. It's all voice and tone. And because we don't rank anybody, our goal is to say, hey, we want our tool to be a supporting character to a human. Human resources needs to remain as human as possible while automating some of the busy work. And so you physically have to have a person that's willing to review the videos. You have to see what is it in an interview. You know it when you see it. You've got to put eyes on this person. You can kind of it's almost hard to put your finger on what that thing is, but it's normally warmth and just energy. It's like, oh, that's great. So a person physically has to review the videos. We do no selection. And then while you're reviewing the videos, we're like, while you're doing this, here's this scorecard of data we were able to pull out. But from there, it's all human. So it's no different than we say this a lot, and I'll get in front of it now. It's like, well, what about bias and what about this? do you do blind interviews? You're going to have to see this person. So we're just putting them in front of you maybe one step faster. But if there's any bias, it is not going to be from our tool. It's going to be internal issues because we don't do any categorization like that.
Wow. Yeah. Uh, Again, a million questions come to my mind. So, you know, I mean, companies are laying people off like gangbusters at this point, right? Because
Yeah.
they're replacing their workforce with AI. And so, again, I'm guessing that your business is, booming in a sense because people are unemployed or looking for jobs, and maybe, that's the opportunity for them to be able to do that. But you started out by saying that the majority of what you're working with is kind of frontline
Hmm.
hospitality people, right?
Yes.
And in a sense, and I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but a lot of those jobs are going to go away, and there's going to be this need for, like you said, humans in the process, but they're going to be strategic humans as opposed to
Hmm.
frontline, workers in a sense. And so, are you thinking at all about, or maybe just tell me what you're thinking about for the
Yeah.
future of this and how things are developing in the workspace, because the workspace is changing, I mean, hourly. I mean, you know, follow the news, like Block just laid off 40% of its workforce, right? And I was reading a LinkedIn post, I think it was, and because I'm into food service,
Yeah.
one of the people that was let go was the food service person for Block. And I'm thinking, okay, so then who does that job? Who does, somebody has to feed the rest of the people that are left in a sense, right?
Right.
And so to me, the hiring structure moves up a little bit. It's not a barista that's, going to be hired. It's going to be the senior manager or something like that to be able
Yeah.
to handle those kinds of things. So maybe give me a little feel for where you think this is all
Hmm.
headed with how this stuff is changing, like I said,
Totally.
hourly.
So I can tell you that our client base has no intentions of eliminating their front lines. So we work with um, coffee chains. They do not, there's not going to be automatic baristas. Like they are built around people. And so maybe in some of those corporate environments, they're moving more toward letting people scan their own things and maybe in that world. But what I think is you go into a grocery store and there's self-checkouts, right? And everybody thought when self-checkouts came out, oh,
Yeah.
we're not going to have any
Yeah.
jobs. And that's the initial fear. And that's the fear a lot of people are having. There's tons of fear right now, especially
Yes.
in HR. People are like, oh, no, a computer's going to do everything and I'm not going to have a job. Or are we going to have any frontline workers? I think, and I was not alive during this time, but of all, I've always heard stories, and a lot of my advisors talk about the dot-com boom and, oh God, everything's changing and this is going to happen and Y2K and all of this like fear, fear, fear because we didn't have enough information. What I personally, there's things that I think back this up just through preliminary research, but we're in an AI boom right now. And what's going to happen is it's going to flood the market. And I think that there will be some rocky years of people figuring out where a human needs to be and where one doesn't. I do not think you can replace human interaction with customer service. I don't. I even feel that all of the people that are using AI for their customer service calls, I don't think that will last. I think we will see some interesting times and people trying things, and then we're going to circle all the way back around, and people are going to be so sick of that people are going to come back into play more significantly. And I think with AI, if you are doing a job that I don't want to say this offensively because I've had jobs like this too, where they're just trying to keep you busy, kind of with like random
Yeah.
busy work, you're going to lose your job.
Yeah.
Those little productivity jobs, like you're likely, unless you learn how to become really, really good at AI. Because the thing about AI tools is they need a person. There is so many things. Like I look at my business and I think, allegedly, I should be able to vibe code everything. I should be able to have agents and they should be doing all the things. That does not happen. There is bugs. They're still running into stuff. Somebody's got to oversee it. Somebody's got to proof it. And so that there's so much that I think is like, all right, we're in this big boom. We're going to see a lot of cuts. We're going to see people try a lot of things. And I think it's going to circle all the way back around. And with like I said, we work with a lot of emerging franchises, things like that. They have no intentions of having a fully automated lobby where you're just ordering. You even go into a McDonald's and there's a kiosk. Nobody's ever using it. People want to deal with people. And I think that AI serves a lot of amazing purposes, but I don't see a big clearing out happening enough that it's going to put a business like mine or anybody in this type of frontline role like completely out.
Well, that's an interesting position. I'm a little bit on the other side
Yeah.
in that I last year I went to the restaurant show in Chicago, right? And robotics was front and center, and I'm looking at a barista robot
Yeah.
that makes a perfect cup of coffee every time, and they were relatively slow. But with technology doing what it's doing, that's changing.
Yeah.
And so now, in a sense, I don't need a barista. I don't need a barista because I have a robotic arm or two or
Yeah.
five that are building, those kinds of things. Now, that robot doesn't have a personality.
Right.
Okay. That robot does whatever you tell it to do, right? And there was some interaction with the customer, right? But I'm guessing with facial recognition and some of the things that are starting to happen that people
Hmm.
opt into, they have to choose to opt in, but they do. And then all of a sudden the robot now knows them and knows
Right.
that they had a, double tall latte yesterday. And so they want the same thing today, only that today they're going to put a little face on the top of
Hmm.
it, the smiley face, because they want you to, all the kind of hospitality things that don't happen or don't need to happen with a human, right? So I'm just wondering how that you're right. I think it's going to take some time and there's going to be huge disruption because somebody, like you say, somebody has to know how to fix the AI or know how to do all that sort of thing. And I suppose, and that's a little bit of what I was talking about in my earlier question is that now your personality pool talks to those AI agent or those
Hmm.
AI people that fix the agents instead of the barista itself, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm just wondering that seems to be kind of the same or maybe a path or where this whole thing is headed.
It could, but I just don't. I have friends. There's a company that just shut down. It was all ATMs that served baked goods in major metropolitan cities, and they just went completely bankrupt because nobody. I just always think that people buy from people, and people love experiences. And my opinion is after COVID, people are even more
Oh yeah.
hungry for interactions. Now, there will certainly be. I was just in New York and went to a coffee shop that is based in, I want to say they're Australian or it's somewhere over that way. And they are just coming to the States. And where I do see this being a real thing that will happen. They only let you order from your phone. You can, but, and they do have some automated stuff back there I've seen, but they still have the same amount of maybe they're able to trim their overhead down a little bit, but there was still six, seven, eight people in this tiny shop because they're managing, making sure the orders are coming in on the app. Even though you're doing everything digitally, they do not have a cash register in there. And so I did see a lot of automated things that I'm sure have helped with overhead and made things cheaper, a little faster, but I was paying attention. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm seeing what everybody's doing. Like, what's their role in this? And so I can see a coffee shop eventually having a robotic for sure. But I just don't, and I might be totally wrong, could be, but I just think back if history is, something to look to for what could happen in the future.
Sure.
I think that there will be a big boom and a lot of disruption, and then I think that we will likely see people become the vintage cool way of doing things is like, oh, I want to be around people. So that's my thought, but we'll see. We think about it all the time. And like I said, yeah, I mean, we do think about this and what happens, and we could pivot to another role. But yeah, I I just don't see it completely going that way, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be, you hit it on the head. It's going to be a disruption for a little
Yeah.
bit of time. And, you know, I'm a boomer, and so I was there in the dot coms, right? And I saw that, what happened and that sort of thing. And I'm also, I'm leaning into AI really big time now, but I'm still frustrated with it. Just like what you say, you're on the phone with an AI agent, and they're asking me questions that, what's the serial number? What's the this? What's that? So, and I get what they're doing,
Hmm.
but it's really frustrating. I just want to talk to a human. It's like, yes, give me, hello, you talk to
Yes.
me, kind of thing. However, I'm also finding that the AI agents are becoming more human-like,
Yeah,
and being able to decipher, frustration in the customer's voice, and kind of a little bit of what you're talking about with your videos, kind of a thing. But um,
totally. And I think it's going to be so cool to see what sticks.
oh
There's a
yeah,
company that I follow pretty closely. They just raised a big round and they're all automated AI agents doing reservations. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Like, that makes sense. You want to make a reservation that doesn't require too much. You're not getting frustrated making your reservation. It's pretty cut and dry. Here's the availabilities, make your reservation. And so things like that, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But I think what stands out to me is like with customer service. I think you can use AI to get people to a point, but there is a point where you need to talk to another human being. And yeah, so we'll see. I think we'll land somewhere in the middle. I really do. I don't think that we're going to be, again, watch robots run the world here in like 10,
yeah.
15 years, and I'll be totally wrong. But I think people are already getting very overwhelmed by AI, and what it can do. I think that people are becoming a little more skeptical of things. I think there was a Super Bowl commercial, the Ring doorbell Super Bowl commercial. I don't know if you've seen all
Yes,
that.
yes.
Oh my gosh, my husband was like, take our Ring doorbell down. Like, that freaked him out so bad. And I'm like, okay, yeah, there's going to be a point where this goes too far, and I think people will revert back the other way. So we'll see. But it's a cool time to
Oh, it is. It's amazing, and it just blows me away. What I learn something new every day, and
say,
it changes every day. There's so much growth, so much happening, and so fast. And I think it's going to be the entrepreneurs like yourself that are going to figure it all out. So kind of maybe based on that. I mean, you're a founder, and you're managing your business in a sense. I guess maybe how is it being a founder? What's the hardest part? Is it predicting the future or managing your staff, or I mean, what is it that is is keeping you up at night?
well, AI is keeping me up at night. No, I think for us, it's always going to be. I mean, there's a lot of things that are hard about being a founder. Some days I'm like, now, why did I want to do this again? Like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
um, but I think for me right now, the hardest part, but the most exciting part is that because AI is going so insane right now, you can move so fast and you can iterate so fast. And there's just all kinds of different things that you can do as far as making your product better and sharper and easier for your customers to use. But the flip side of that, of what keeps me up at night, is that AI is moving so fast. And, there's a lot more competitors in this space than when I started. And so it's a double-edged sword, but ultimately like more positive than negative. But I would say that's like what I'm thinking of a lot right now is I'm very passionate about humans still remaining incredibly involved in human resources while having a tool that genuinely makes their life better, makes the candidate's life better without going too far. And so I think about that a lot. And as far as managing my team, so here's like a really positive thing about AI and where I do think it will replace jobs is, used to I would have to have somebody to maybe help me manage my email or, little things like that. And you're paying somebody to do that. And it's like, oh my gosh, I need help. But I do have agents helping me with stuff. So I'm definitely like pro AI, replacing, miscellaneous things. But yeah, so managing the team hasn't really been that bad because um, the humans that I do work with are really managing tools, and so it does make things nice from that perspective. But yeah, I think just the speed of AI in general is it's a crazy time.
Well, so then, and I'm guessing as a founder, I mean, you're kind of the brain trust of the company, right? And so you have people's staff that manage some of that sort of thing. I mean, is the mix on your staff changing to be more, I don't know, digital scientists and digital or data
Yeah,
driven employees and even, I don't know, AI strategists help you understand, what's like you say, what's going on. I'm guessing that you didn't talk to the agent that does your email now. You probably had somebody build something
yeah.
for you, right? I mean, so how do you manage that movement of staff?
I told somebody the other day, I was like, what's the hardest part about being an entrepreneur in this time is when you're like I said, I'm not like one of those genius entrepreneurs where I'm inventing a new category like open AI. I said, I am one of those that's like, I wonder if we could use this to do that. And I said, and that's like the hard part when you when you're not a genius. And so, yeah, our team where our staff expense mainly lives is we do still have human sales. Humans do sales. We don't do, I mean, we have some automations that go, but we're still pretty human crazy with that. Human customer service. Although, like I said, they all use tools to help them do things more efficiently, but we're still super pretty human over here. But yeah, I mean, we work with um, a technologist, his team that keeps us on the forefront of what tools we should be building with and what's going to help us move the fastest, what's the safest, what's the most ethical, because then you got to that's another thing with AI. You got to think about ethics. You got to think about there's just it's crazy. And so, yeah, we spend a lot of time with the technologist. We have an organizational psychologist that we work very closely with, and he helps us validate because when you want to build your own language model, large language model, there's a lot of validation that comes in that, a lot of data, research, and things like that. And so, that's above my pay grade. I had the idea, and then I, I had the idea, and I can see it. And then I have all these like way smarter people that I'm like, all right, here's what I want to make real. Is this possible? And what would we have to do this and not be sued? And
Yeah.
to remain like on the right side of AI. And so yeah, that's a challenge because I'm not a genius. So, you're constantly having to learn and read and pay attention and yeah, I don't think my brain ever turns off. I can say that for sure.
Are you using AI to help you become an expert?
I mean, yes, but I think for me, I still learn best by like somebody teaching me, if that makes sense. So the technologists and the people that we work with, I do, I mean, I try to do my own research and I'm a big Claude. I love Claude.
Me too.
I love it's so much better than Chat GPT. I mean,
Yep.
I'll kind of have them both going simultaneously depending, but yeah, I mean, I definitely am constantly um asking questions and then I'm like, great, I'm killing the planet. You know what I mean? And so you're like, ah, this is just so much, but yeah, I do use AI to learn, but I do still enjoy talking to the people on our team that really are brilliant and having them, you know, keep me up to date because there is so much that I feel like they kind of filter through all the crap and then throw at me what is most likely relevant for what we're doing. So yeah, I'm across the board with my learning.
My guess is that your humans are probably using AI to,
Yeah,
get the answers to give to you, right? I mean,
definitely.
because it seems like everybody, at least the people I'm bumping into, is using it, but they're using it on to me a lower level than the capabilities. Like Claude is far more capable than the silly questions that I ask. Like I would ask Siri a question. How
Yeah.
to take me to this location or whatever, and it's just way beyond that. And so I'm guessing that your staff is being able to, get that information for you. Are you in your tool though? I mean, I'm guessing that, potential hires have to have some kind of a knowledge of AI to get the job that they're being interviewed for, in a sense. I mean, so have you adjusted your tool related to, the what's going on in the industry right now in AI?
So the people that, let me make sure I'm getting this straight. Do the people that our clients are hiring for need to have base knowledge of AI?
Yes.
No. So we're hiring. So our biggest, I think this customer, I looked, and in 2 weeks they've screened right around 200 candidates through Personality Pool. They are a multi-unit ice cream shop. And what they're looking for is ice cream artists, is what they call them. And so, no, I mean, they don't need to have AI skill expertise. So, um, that's where we try to live is in that space, like baristas, ice cream artists.
Uh,
We work with some luxury wellness studios where they have attendants that are, walking the clients through the facility and showing them how to use. And I will say, we had a client that we ran a pilot with, and it's Hotworks, if you're familiar, and it is a fully automated yoga studio where all of the instructors are virtual and there's only like one or two people that staff it. And yeah, so that was interesting. Those people that didn't pan out. But yeah, so there's something I'm seeing AI doing, but I wouldn't say that those studios are the most they're not as popular as like a traditional studio, but
that's interesting. Yeah, because again, you're working with the frontline workers,
yes.
and that's really where, they have eye time with the customer, right?
Hmm.
And their skill level needs to be built on personality in a sense. I mean, I've had some really cranky baristas and some really, awesome baristas, right? And I'll go, when someone remembers my name, I'll go back to, what it is that, that personality brought me in, kind of a thing. I enjoy it, right?
Totally.
So I think and again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, there's probably going to be a need for that all the way along because people, I mean, I talk to my AI agent all day long. And so when I go to, a hardware store or go to, somewhere, I want to talk to a person, right?
Totally.
So kind of piggybacking on what you were saying earlier, right? So
We'll land in the middle somewhere. I really believe that. There's going to be a lot of great disruptions, and there's going to be some that I think in 2 years it's going to be like, I don't know, maybe we went a little too far, and there'll be some course correction, but we'll see.
yeah. Well, and in a food service, again, has traditionally been a hospitality focused industry. And so my
Mhm.
guess is that they're probably going to be the last in line, if you will. The finance people and the data people and the, whatever are going to be the first to go.
Yes.
And then those that are on the front line are probably going to be the last. So hopefully that's the case, because there's some great people out there in this hospitality world. So yeah, so I guess what's in the bigger picture then of your industry? What is the next greatest thing, or where is it that you're headed, or
Mhm.
the industry is headed because of all the change? Like I say, there's going to be a lot of people on the street without jobs,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are going to probably start businesses because becomes really easy to do that because you got all your
Hmm.
AI agents doing everything for you, kind of a thing. I
Right.
mean, so where do you see this going? I mean, the frontline worker maybe will stay the same, but maybe, I don't know. Where do you see it going?
So where I see us going as a company is that we are focusing on being a data company, really. I mean, sorry, the dogs are ready for lunch, so they're running around like crazy. But um, I see us as a data company, we want to be your culture intelligence hub. So the more candidates that you screen, the stronger the data gets to support who you know stays. High turnover is always going to be a thing in hospitality. And so that's what we're focused on. How do we reduce that and make sure you're hiring the right people more consistently? And how do we just continue to elaborate on that data and really just become, yeah, your little culture brain for your company. And so that's our lane that we plan to stay in. But where do I see the industry going? I really have no idea. Like I don't think I just feel like every time I think I know what's coming next, something changes and it's a little too early for me to be able to tell, but I think that it'll level out somewhere. I think there'll be a lot of new jobs created because of AI, but there'll be a lot of jobs lost. But then for the people that are adaptable and want to learn, I think there'll be a lot of new jobs that come along. And I don't think we think enough about that, of who's going to manage these tools and what's it going to look like and stuff. So I really don't have a good picture of where I think it's going to go because as soon as we log off, we'll see an updated article of something new. So
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting times. Like you say, it reminds me a little bit of the dot com. However, the dot com bubble exploded, and I'm not so sure that this one's going to explode. There's just seems to me to be, the horse is out of the barn on this thing, and there's no stopping it because it's just going
yeah,
rampant. So and again, I think, they're saying that 60% of the people who get laid off are going to start their own business, right?
yeah.
So
I
yeah,
know. I don't know that the bubble will explode, but I think that there will be some changes because we will start to see like more negative repercussions of what can come. And so I think, hopefully there'll be more guardrails, but I don't even know how I'm not smart enough to know how you regulate something like this, but that's something that me and my husband talk about all the time is like, how do you rein it in when it needs to be reined in? Like, how do you? Because it can always outsmart the next thing. So I'm sure there's a genius somewhere that's working on the strategy for that. So
yeah, it certainly isn't me, but that's definitely for
definitely isn't
sure.
me.
Um, well, so again, I think we could go on forever. Maybe I'll wrap this up a little bit by again throwing you a little bit of a curve.
Okay.
I have what I call the lightning round, and it's a either or question that I'll just it's kind of a one answer solution.
Okay.
Um, and some of them, I mean, the first one I'll throw out to you is a, I think I know the answer, but let's start this and then we'll wrap this up. So, resume or video intro?
Video intro.
Of course. Um, and this one may be for your clients, but hire for personality or train for skill?
Hire for personality because the right personality you can train for skill.
Okay. I totally agree with that. Gut feeling or data score?
Oh, I think that an informed decision is good, but there's a lot to be said about your gut too. So I'm gonna say gut decision, but I like a little data to back it up. But I would like to lead with my gut on personality based roles.
Right. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. And again, I think that's what you explained a little bit earlier is that what you don't rate people, you give them data and then they use their gut to tell them, this is the right person for this job
Yeah,
or this company culture or, whatever it is.
totally.
Let's see. Zoom pitch or in-person meeting?
I've been talking people, people, people. I love an in-person meeting.
But after they've gone through the churn or the understanding of the data, right?
Yeah,
So it happens at the end of the process, like
it
you're
happens at
saying.
the end of the process. But if I can be in a room with people, yeah, it doesn't always make sense with scheduling, but I would prefer
Early morning founder or late night founder?
late night. I wish I was up at 5 a.m. I'm not. Nope, I'm gonna work through the night.
See, I'm completely opposite. 7:30 at night, man, I'm toast. It's just like I'm done. But 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm
Oh
ready.
no, not
I'm
me.
ready to go.
I mean, I do like, I'm up and going around 7:30, but you're not gonna see me before that, I can tell you.
Let's see. One great mentor or a big network?
One great mentor.
Do you have one?
I do.
That's
I do.
good.
I
That's
do. And I
good.
used to have a big group, and that actually made me so much slower in my processes. And so, um, yeah, I mean, I still like the network, but for the people that really get to speak into what's going on, yeah, that's very limited now.
Well, and they probably have an understanding of your history, your ups and your downs and all that kind of stuff. So they play into that too.
Definitely.
And I'll ask the funny question though, is it an AI agent that is your mentor?
No, it is a very seasoned female founder who's had a few exits under her belt. So she's
Oh,
wonderful.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, last
Nobody, I
one.
don't I don't use anybody my own age as a mentor. I'm like, I need to see that um I, you've done a bunch of stuff. So,
Well, and that's interesting. Diversity in decision making is a good thing, right? To
mhm.
have somebody, an old person like me, or a young person, or somebody that's completely maybe out of the industry
Yeah.
that you could bounce things off of and say, does this really make sense?
Yeah,
So yeah,
definitely.
totally, totally get it. Okay, last question. Taylor Swift or Beyonce?
Oh, Taylor Swift. I'm a huge Swiftie.
Awesome, awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed getting into it, learning about AI, learning about your tool and how you operated it. And I think our audience is going to get a lot of hopefully good ideas and interesting thoughts that come out of it. So appreciate the time that you've put in, and I look forward to hearing you talk at our upcoming explosions meeting, which will be enlightening to our hopefully our audience and everything that goes along with that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll catch you at the explosions meeting.
That sounds great.